for the 2025 season. What a weekend. Right off the bat, I want to thank everybody that came out with us on the 1930 crew buses to Regina, and just shout out all the Bomber fans that invaded Regina and represented so well. It was, listen, there's nothing like the Labor Day a game on the prairies, and if you ask any Bomber fan that's made the trip, they will tell you the same. But holy smokes, was the turnout amazing. I mean, we started feeling that quite a bit right when we got into town. Checked into the hotel and looked out downtown. You saw and heard Bomber fans making themselves noticed on the streets of downtown Regina. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Wade Miller, the group, do a great thing. Every Saturday night before the game, they invite all Bomber fans that have made the trip to Regina to a bar called Crave downtown. They had the cheerleaders out. Every Bomber fan that showed up got a ticket for a free beer. And it was so packed that you really couldn't hang out too long. There was probably double, at least at that event, probably close to double what it was last year. And I'll tell you what, at the Wayne's World Party beforehand, it was the same thing. So Labor Day is back. I know it took a couple years coming out of the pandemic, I think, to get people back into their routines. But we saw many familiar faces. There you have, there's Sol Tyson from the chat. He was there on one of the other ones. Got a shout out. Derek Schmidt, he and his wife came. They were our Coolbet winners. He was awesome. They sat beside us at the game for that thriller. Had a great time. And Dan, Jets fan as well. Both the guys rocking their blue and gold WST hats as well, which I appreciated. But it was great to see Dan and his daughter come along. Anyways, just had such a good, if you're with us on YouTube right now, this is a shot of the Wayne's World Party. You can see in the background, that's the house. That's the yard where most of those people are. And this is drifted well into the back lane and outside. I mean, there were probably a good 400 people. Like, this video was done very early, right when we got there. There was probably, it was kind of a good spot to do it so you get a bit better of an idea about where we were. That doubled in size quickly. And anyways, I mean, everything around the game was phenomenal. And the game was, it was a classic, but one that left Bomber fans with much frustration afterwards. And we'll get to all of that as well. You can see there, I mean, it was a big game feel for that one. I mean, the place was absolutely packed. And you know what the interesting thing about it, I'll just say this just before we get into the rest of the show with Remis. I want to give Rider fans a lot of credit too, because the appreciation that they showed to all of us throughout the weekend was amazing. I can't tell you how many Rider fans, said, "Hey, how you guys doing? What's going on? Oh, great. We're looking forward to the game." And, they kept on saying, "Thank you guys for coming." They really said that you guys, Bomber fans, make this weekend and make this event what it is. And it was, I mean, listen, it just doesn't get any better than that. An absolute thriller, a venue and a packed stadium with two very passionate fan bases having fun together. And as I said, someone was going to win, someone was going to lose. But the big winner this weekend was the Canadian Football League, not only with the craziness and the scenes we saw from Regina, but also what was repeated yesterday, certainly on Southern Ontario. We're going to get to all of that. Welcome to everyone in chat. Shout out to everyone that made the trip out to Regina, representing our team and city so well. I do want to thank the sponsors for Winnipeg Sports Talk that make this show possible each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, and congratulations to Derek, who was our grand prize winner. Had a great time seeing him out all weekend. Of course, our friends at Princess Auto, Rolly's Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center and Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend. We will get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. And of course, your fan feedback, of which I would imagine there will be plenty of, for fansfirst.ca. Let's welcome in Michael Remis, who did not make the trip to Regina, but I know was glued into the game. How was the weekend, Remo?
Man, what an awesome way to wrap up August and head into September. Incredible weather. I was in Gimli, got out to the Aquatic Center there on Saturday. An incredible facility. I had never been. Water slides. It was in the sun. It was awesome. And yeah, Sunday, nice weather as well. Yesterday was fine. We're getting back to school mode here in my household. So it was a nice way to put a bow on August. And here we are into September. School's back. We got the Banjo Bowl, NFL, Jets on the ice at Hockey for All Center. The social media award-winning social media account.
Stanley champions.
Stanley champion, Jets social media account, putting that out this morning. So, hey, lots to get to. Disappointing the way that it ended, but as you said, it was a classic. And the Hamilton-Toronto game yesterday absolutely delivered as well. So Labor Day, marquee event for the CFL, certainly a success. The Calgary-Edmonton, we can forget about that game. But the two games were pretty awesome. You'd like to see the Bombers come out on top, but I think they certainly had the chance to do that and weren't able to take advantage of some of the opportunities presented to them, and I know that'll come up throughout the show.
You mentioned the Toronto Hamilton game. Just quickly on our group that went out. Just want to thank Jeffrey, Pat Rathwell, who's probably in the chat today, Tara, for setting up and you guys just outdid yourselves this year. Everyone had such a great time. We had a dinner that was taken care of for everyone. We got into the city and, lots of cool swag and stuff on the buses. It was great. But the Huss bus also had a special guest on it. And that was, of course, I think we have to say at this point, the king of Winnipeg social media, none other than Carter Chen. Ritz Kraka on the gram, if you know who I'm talking about. And Carter put together the greatest setup. This is us watching the last play of the game, or I guess the second last play of the Toronto game. We're trying to figure out whether he was out of bounds, whether he got in, how much time was left. There's Jim, there's Bannon on the right. Carter, you're the CTO of WST, Remis. Carter was the CTO of the 1930 crew, and he had all these great clamp tripod things for his phone, cranked it to a Bluetooth speaker, so we had great sound for it, and watched the game. It was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. And I got to say, Carter's ready. We may have to get him on later on this week for a Burger Week update. That was a very popular. Yes, there it is. Shout out to Rick, our driver. You would never know this, but Rick has a faux hawk.
What?
One of the wildest haircuts ever for an old dude. But yeah, he's got a faux hawk, just cut right down to the sides, flowing on the top. He was wearing a lid on this side, but a great group. But Carter came through big time. He's going to be going crazy this week, cranking out Burger Week content, I'm sure, on his channel. So we may need to get a burger power poll later on from Carter from the weekend. But anyways, I see Dan in the chat who had a great time, and great to see. I know Westman was out there, Tyson, they jumped on last minute. So it's just getting bigger and better, folks. If you had FOMO watching all those pictures, make a point of jumping on with us next year. I know they'll be planning heading into the holidays, and we went from 1 buses to 2 this year. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 4 next year. So we'll have room for you. As far as the game, though, Remis, the fact that it ended the way that it did was absolutely stunning because, to be frank, the Bombers had no business. They covered the spread in the game. Well, if you had it at 4.5, if you had it at 4, to lose it or get a push on a pick 2, on a 2-point convert that'll be one of the worst beats, or at least pushes, that you'll have in a long, long time. It was somewhat spectacular the way that the team got back into it in the final 3 minutes of the game. But it really did feel like in the second half, the game just got completely away on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And there's a lot of talk about the running games on both teams and how both teams had, the number one and two ranked rushing defenses. Well, one team was very much committed to the run and continued to give their running backs opportunities to try and chip away and finally get into that second level, which the Riders did. The Bombers did not at all. And listen, I thought Brady Oliveira was excellent when he was able to get his hands on the ball. And sometimes, those rushes, especially against a strong defense, don't go far away. But for them to go away to the extent, 5 carries, 24 yards? And I know they tried to get him the ball in the passing game with 5 more touches, but we were talking about a Brady touch count needing to be in the 20 to 25. It wasn't even half that. So, there's so much to dive into from this game, Remis. I can tell you both right at the stadium, after the game, bus on the way home. I'm sure it'll be on the coaches show tonight when DT hooks up with Mike O'Shea. A lot of frustration with offensive coordinator Jason Hogan. He was the guy that was on the list, if you will, for Bomber fans coming out of that one.
Yeah, and I was searching Jason Hogan's name on X during the game to just to get the temperature of what people were saying. And I think it's just been a theme throughout the season. You've seen a couple head-scratching decisions from this offense, in multiple games. And there were a couple that are being widely debated in the 34-30 loss. And first of all, credit to Zach Collaros, who had an excellent game. 26 of 37 passing, 326 yards, three touchdowns. He had the interception, and that was on the 2-point play. But the calls that we're talking about were 2nd and 3. And you're bringing in the Strevler package, and you're basically saying to them, hey, we're going to run the ball, and, weren't successful, and you have the 3rd and short, and you opt to kick the short field goal. And the other one that everyone seems to be discussing was the 2nd down play when you're in field goal range, and you have Zach in shotgun telling everyone you're going to pass when you just need, short, 2 yards for a first down. And you look at the number of carries. I agree. If the Bombers want to be successful, they need to give Brady Oliveira minimum 15 touches, whether it's running the ball or the short throws, which they did so well, just giving him the ball in space and letting him go. He is your most outstanding player. You should be trying to get him the ball. It seems like they were going away from that. Now, shout out to Kevin Sklercius, who made highlight reel catch, and Nick Dembski has really emerged as the Bombers' number 1 receiver this year. And Dalton Schoen, returned. He caught a late touchdown, and he had 5 catches for 58 yards. But the game was certainly missing Brady Oliveira. Only 5 carries. What he had, he averaged 4.8 yards a carry. That's still pretty good on the 5 carries. But it seems like that's happened too often this year, where you leave the game saying, why did Brady not get the ball? Or in certain situations, why are they making this galaxy brain call instead of the obvious call?
Well, listen, on a couple of those plays, first off, at the end of the second quarter, the Bombers had the football, and you mentioned this. It was a 2nd and 1. Or 2nd and very short.
2nd and inches, yeah. Late first half.
2nd and inches. Okay, do I like the call from Hogan there? No, I don't. But Zach Collaros, even if you know that this, even if you're like, oh man, why aren't we just, getting the first down and moving forward? Even if that's where you are, you can't take a sack there. You have to get rid of the football, throw it out of bounds. That's one of those plays. Yes, I know we can, get mad with the situation that maybe the quarterback was put in the first place. But as I tweeted out, you just can't take a sack there. They lost 8 yards, And now all of a sudden, Sergio's kicking 50 plus into the wind. That as great as he is, are not automatic. And they weren't able to get it. And those were 3 big points that they could have used. As far as earlier in the game, Bombers up 7-0. They get the turnover, and they're starting inside the 10-yard line, and they bring in the big boys. If you're starting on the 5-yard line and you're bringing in Strevler and Brady Oliveira, to me, like, unless you go in reverse, which they didn't, I think you have to be committed to using 3 downs to get a touchdown there in a game like that, against a team like that, in that environment. And it kind of felt like they half-assed it. You know, they went in there, they had 2 relatively short gains. They were at the 2 or inside the 2. I mean, if you're taking your quarterback out of the game so he can't be, and you're saying, all right, here we go. We're ready to run the football, and we're going to run it in. I mean, that's, to me, a challenge that you're laying down that you got to see through. So I was disappointed that they kicked it, first of all. I mean, worst case scenario, you're going to give them the ball on the 1-yard line, which is not an easy spot. I thought the Bomber defense played really well. We'll get to that in a bit. But to me, Remo, that was a very, very conservative call. And I think, considering the stakes, the circumstances, that, they needed to be a little bit more aggressive. And unfortunately, that's exactly the way the game played out.
Yeah, you have a guy like Zach Claros who's, throwing the ball so well in the game. He is your quarterback. He is your guy. Wouldn't you want him in throwing around the end zone? And I agree. That's a good take, Huss. If you're going to commit saying, hey, we're bringing in this run package, you got to commit to run it in all the way. 2 yards in the CFL, certainly doable. But that's the part that I didn't like, taking out Claros. You're signaling, hey, we're going to run. And they did, and it did not work out. They have done that before. I remember not to bring up Payne, Huss, but when in the Grey Cup, when they had like Dakota Prukop, throwing an interception, like, why is he throwing the ball and not Zach Claros? I'm sorry to bring that up, especially after we saw another awesome performance yesterday from Nick Arbuckle. But yeah, and I think those are the plays that are being debated, and it's been a couple every game where it seems like there's an obvious play call, and it hasn't worked out for the Bombers. And I'm sure Mike O'Shea said after the game, we do have the clips saying he agrees with the call, and it was simply they didn't execute the call that was given.
Yeah, we'll get to O'Shea in just a second. Ernie Waldner putting in Strevler on 1st and goal from the 5 in the second quarter just told Sask that they would run the ball. Keeping him in on 2nd down killed them. Should have left Zach in. Way more play options. I'm fine with that. I mean, especially, like, even if they're just going to give it to Brady Oliveira 3 times, having Zach in there, I think, makes them respect the pass more. Either that, or like, let Strevler, make it happen and take it in. It just, like, they went for it kinda and then backed off of it, and that was a huge win for Saskatchewan. I mean, to turn the ball over where they did and only give up 3 was a massive win for Sask, and then, of course, they returned the favor. And I mean, listen, we'll get into this more with John in a minute, but for everything to happen the way that it did, that the Bombers ended up with a 2-point opportunity in the final minute to tie the game, and that was the play that they cooked up, that was maybe the most frustrating thing to me in the entire day. I mean, and Zach said afterwards, and I don't know how you guys read it. I read it that he was a little exasperated. I mean, he sort of owned it, but I couldn't help but say, that's a play. It's a thing that everyone in the league runs. Everyone knows it. Listen, that was not, in my opinion, that wasn't putting the team with the best chance to complete the play or get in. And unfortunately, that was the undoing. Never mind the fact that it went the other way. for 2 points. So let's hear what the coach had to say afterwards. A lot of talk about, listen, it was a hell of a football game. It was great for the league. Very disappointing, though, if you were at Blue at Mosaic Stadium. Here's what O'Shea had to say on the game overall.
Great battle. I mean, nobody in here likes the outcome, right? None of our fans do. But if you're talking about the game itself, it's a hell of a game.
Things really turned. You got that 10-zip lead, and then they went on a 31-7 run or something like that. What did you see going on there, and how did the momentum feel at that point?
Well, we went into half down 4. We traded touchdowns, I think, in the third, and they got another one right there, right? So, from my tabulation, both teams had an explosive play. Both teams turned the ball over in the red zone. They score a touchdown. We get a field goal out of that one. Up until that last 2 point, we're now even again with the takeaways. I thought our defense did a great job in the first quarter. They got the wind, and we basically shut them down pretty well. I thought it was a great battle.
Some credit for never giving up, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's pro football. It's pro athletes. They shouldn't be wired that way.
Now, listen, it's very easy to Monday morning quarterback, or in this case, Tuesday afternoon quarterback, the whole thing. But, it did not go unnoticed that Mike O'Shea said, both teams turned it over in the red zone. They got a touchdown. We got 3. Well, the difference in that is 4 points. Guess what the difference in the game was? 4 points. And, the 2 at the end was on the pick, too. So, fairly or unfairly, we're going to look back at the way that opportunity for the Bombers played out, what they did it with theirs and what Saskatchewan did with theirs. A huge, huge difference. Here is O'Shea on kicking on the 3rd and 2 from the 2-yard line.
It's 2 yards, right? It's 3rd and 2, so they turn the ball over. We're going to take points, right? We're not going to. All points are good points at that point, right? Puts us up 10-0.
You think about it though, given obviously this is going to be a tight game.
Exactly.
It's going to.
If we get it to 1,
yeah,
but not 2.
Yeah. What about the end? Near one of the last drives in the half, where you're facing a 2nd and 1. Zach gets sacked. Sergio misses a 50-yarder, and you have 41 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, we're 2nd and 1. We're gonna
Inches.
Yeah, we're gonna be aggressive. Yeah. This is a good team we're playing against.
Well,
you can't just.
How can you say be aggressive on the second one, but not be aggressive on the first?
2 yards versus inches.
Yeah.
There's aggressiveness and there's stupidity. Right. So.
That's aggressive.
And it points in the game where we're at, what the score is. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So there's and listen, shout out to Hammer saying what I think most Bomber fans were thinking when they heard that. It was an interesting back and forth from the coach. Listen, we're going to get into it with John Hodge right away from 3 Down Nation. Certainly get his thoughts on the games yesterday as well, but with a real focus on the Labor Day game. Listen, we're moving on into September, folks. And if you have a move coming up planned for you and your family, lean on our friends at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving for over 60 years in Manitoba, family owned and operated. Of course, Rolly's has, listen, they're around the province on a daily basis. You've seen their trucks everywhere. Maybe you've even seen the WST truck on the line. They'd love to help you and your family with your next move. What you're going to want to do is check over at Rollies.com. You can click on Request an Estimate in the top right corner and put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and supplies. And then simply let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they are famous for. Now into their 7th decade. For all of your moving needs, work with the most trusted name in the game, Rollies Transfer. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. Got a message from our pal Dr. Terry today over at St. Vital Dental Center. I think Ty and other WSTers popping into to see Terry and get that smile right for September heading into fall. Folks, if it's been a minute since you've seen a dentist or you've been looking for a great full-service dental clinic, to take care of you and your family as they've been doing for generations, head on over to St. Vital Dental Center. Everything you need, from cleanups and cleanings and checkups, all the way to things like dental implants, in a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's, with convenient free parking right behind the building. Head on over to stviteldental.ca, book an appointment today, and make sure you tell Dr. Terry and the gang that Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. And wow, what a weekend it was. There was plenty of beverages consumed by Bomber fans. I know there was plenty of Canadian Club as well. Of course, Canadian Club's the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We did see a couple of those beautiful limited edition Blue Bomber label Canadian Clubs on the 1930 crew and out at the Wayne's World party beforehand. And of course, we had to take a Canadian Club pack for the road with that CC and ginger, the citrus smash, the half and half. Shout out to Bart Omand, actually, who was with us, that gave me a half and half at the Wayne's World, which I greatly appreciated. Of course, Canadian Club's the official spirit of the Bombers. Pick up the limited edition Bomber label bottle and the club pack at your local Manitoba liquor marts today. All right, fresh off of our big media fantasy draft last night, while we were getting the cobwebs out after Regina, John Hodge joins us now. John, what is up, buddy? How are you? How was your weekend? We missed you in Regina.
Yeah, it was good. I had a wedding at a farm on Saturday, so that kind of took up any possibility of going out to Regina, which is fine. I mean, I was there last year, had a great time, hoping to get back next year. Labor Day Classic, if you haven't done it, it's a must do. And I say that for Bomber fans, I say that for Rider fans. And frankly, I'd say that to somebody who doesn't give a rip about the CFL too, just because it's a great fun time. It's a tremendous atmosphere. You can't beat it. It's one of the best rivalries in Canadian sport. And we got a heck of a game this year. I know Bomber fans are disappointed with the end result, but an instant classic, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you know what, dude? The one thing you did miss, like, Labor Day is so back. I mean, it took a little while out of the pandemic. I mean, we were all there together last year. I'm not joking when I say I think there was twice as many Bomber fans in Regina this weekend than there were last year, which is great moving forward. And to your point, there were a lot of folks that, you know, have friends that are Bomber fans, or they've been talking about how much fun this weekend is over and over, and got some people to come in, and you really, like, it is a great way to get people truly into the Bombers and into the Canadian Football League, if that is their first indoctrination, if you will, to what it is all about. So, and I mean, the scenes there, I'm sure it looked on TV. I mean, incredible atmosphere, a full house, a record crowd, and a game that ended up delivering, although it didn't really look like it would be that way, you know, kind of midway through the fourth quarter.
Well, I'd even say after the first quarter, that first quarter was a punt fest. And I think we were all going, oh, geez, I hope we didn't all get excited for a dud. And then obviously the rest of that game was great. As for the atmosphere house, I'll say this. Obviously, I wasn't there in person this year, but that is something I've noticed is, you know, if you go back 10, 15 years, certainly, like there was a little bit of blue in that Regina crowd, but it was 98% green probably. And the opposite was true for Banjo Bowl. Banjo Bowl was, you know, a solid 85% blue, but I'd say at its peak, it was probably a solid 10 to 15% green. And that's completely flipped, right? I think entirely. Like what percentage of the crowd would you say was blue, Huss, if I put you on the spot here on your own show, which I apologize
it was
for doing.
Probably maybe 10% or that might be. I mean, it's a big crowd, and there was a ton of green there, but you would just see the pockets all around of blue, and then a ton of fans that just found their own tickets and just spotted it all around. So
yeah. But there have been Labor Days like 10, 15 years ago. I think it'd be 2% blue. I know it's 10. Yeah. Whereas Banjo Bowl was 10 to 15% green. Now it's like 3 or 4%. Obviously, we'll get a new, maybe not census because this is an unofficial looking at the crowd, but we'll get a new indicator, a new data point anyway on Saturday when the big game happens. As for the finish, I mean, you got to give the Bombers credit for battling. They certainly did. Kyrie Wilson with an extremely clutch strip of Mario Alford. Unbelievable throw from Zach Collaros finding Carrick Wheatfall near the back of the end zone. at the end of the day, though, I mean, it kind of feels like it's all for naught, right? Like Zach Collaros throws the field side out a little bit late, a little bit short, and I thought Zach had a brilliant game. I really do. Like over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. I thought this was arguably his best game of the season. But unfortunately, on that 2-point conversion, he did not put his team in a chance to win that game. And that's a costly mistake. And it's one that I was frankly surprised to see Zach make, considering I thought how great he was up till that point.
Listen, I would argue that the call put him in one of the worst possible positions to be successful. Like, I think we've seen so far this year, like Zach's still playing at a high level, but there are some throws that might not be as easy for him to make as they were before. I mean, we've seen that play go for 6 the other way in the Calgary games. And, you know, how did you take what he said after the game? Because I believe the quote was, you know, every team in the league sort of runs that look. I mean, it didn't sound like a real solid endorsement, if you will. And now, listen, he owned it. It wasn't like he was blaming the coach, but I mean, I just walked away going, that's the best thing that they had in the book for a game, for a play with the game on the line. Certainly wouldn't have been what I would dial up.
Well, I mean, on the broadcast footage, you could see it coming from a mile away, right? Like you could actually see the route develop. Typically, you can't see the route develop on the broadcast footage. You could on this one. And look, on that 2-point convert, I think everybody in the building knew, okay, now, and this is no disrespect to Dylan Mitchell. I thought had his best game as a Bomber. Kevin Sklarcius, who made an outstanding catch, and Carrick Wheatfall, who, again, had the great touchdown. But I think everybody in the building knew, okay, this is either going to Dembski or it's going to Schoen, right? Like those are the 2 receivers that I think Zach Collaros trusts above anybody else. And when you run that little 2-man route tree that they did to that field side of the field side of the field, you know, the DBs did the perfect thing where they traded off, right? The outer receiver was in breaking, the inside receiver was out breaking. And I mean, I thought it was there, right? Like I don't think Dalton Schoen broke it as quickly as maybe he could, but I still think that pass is complete. If Zach gets it out half a second earlier and he puts it closer to the sideline and closer to the goal line, he seemed to throw it a little bit behind Dalton Schoen, and he also, I don't think, maybe put as much on it as he could. I don't know if what the reason is. But as for the scheme, I mean, yeah, I do believe that there's some tension behind the scenes. And honestly, if you're Zach, you're 37 years old, you're a 2-time MOP, you're going to the Hall of Fame. Honestly, and I'm not speaking for Zach, I'm just speculating here. But if I were him in that situation, if I don't like the play call, I say, I don't give a rip what you're calling. I'm calling my own play. I've earned this opportunity. Not many players have done that. Not many players get to that level, but I think Zach Collaros is at that level. If he has a play that he believes can win them the game, or at the very least send it to overtime in that case, I think you just do it. You call your play. And if it doesn't work, take your lumps behind the scenes, but don't run something that you don't think is going to work.
Listen, I'm of the opinion that as well. Here, Revo, let's play this. This is Bombing after the game in the dressing room, asking Zach about what went into the failed 2-point attempt to tie the game late.
Zach, are you able to walk us through the 2-point conversion attempt?
Yeah, sure. We brought in Deuce personnel. We ran a concept to the field that everybody in the league runs, and I just got to throw a better ball.
All right, so he owned that there, but as I say, I mean, I think that if you pumped a little truth serum into the quarterback, John, he was, disappointed with the way that it happened and the way that was executed, but I think there's probably a few other looks that he would have had. You mentioned that he had a very strong game, and I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, a couple throws that he'd like to have back, certainly that being one of them. How did you, like, my one criticism of Zach was just the decision-making, and he might not have agreed with, he probably did, though. I mean, he wants to be aggressive and air it out, but late in the second quarter, the second and inches, like, to me, you just can't take a sack there. I mean,
Yeah.
like that is one of those plays that, listen, if it's not happening, you got to find a way to get rid of the football, because I firmly believe that the loss on that play was the difference between 3 points and 0 points when, even if they had to kick, which they probably wouldn't have, I think they would have just snuck it and then at least, moved it a little bit further. But, I mean, was that a play on the quarterback, or is that also something that Jason Hogan should be feeling heat for, amongst other things?
To me, that sack, and it was a huge mistake, obviously. I think you're bang on about that, is a perfect example of why football is the ultimate complementary team sport. In the first quarter, Patty Neufeld gets beat inside by Malik Carney, who the Riders flexed inside as part of a 5-man rush. And it looked like Patty was expecting inside help from the center, Chris Kolinkowski. The Riders ran a stunt. Kolinkowski tried to get out there, was just late, and so Zach gets swallowed up for a sack. Second quarter, Riders bring 4-man pressure. Gabe Wallace gets absolutely killed by Malik Carney one-on-one. Zach Kalara's blindside strip sack. So in the first 20-odd minutes of that game, of game time, about an hour in real time, you've now had kind of a mental communication error on the right side of the O-line, giving up a sack. You've got just a personnel mismatch, giving up a sack on the left side of that offensive line. And what I think that does as a quarterback is it starts to speed up your clock. And so watching that game tape back, which I did this morning, Zach really didn't need to take off. He had some more time in that pocket on 2nd and 1 to read things, make a play. And by trying to escape the pocket, what he really did is he put Patty Neufeld in a tough spot, because Neufeld believes Zach's in the pocket. He's playing patty cake with rookie Ali Saab, the team's first-round pick, Saskatchewan's first-round pick. And when Zach tries to flee the pocket, Saad can see exactly where the quarterback's going. Patty can't. And then Saad, lo and behold, is able to grab Zach and pull him down for the sack, which, again, snuffs out the drive, and it makes the field goal longer. So to me, this is an example of, okay, if through the first 20 minutes of the game, let's say, Zach is protected brilliantly, he's got all this time to go through his reads, he's feeling super confident in their game plan and their protection scheme and the O-line, everybody kicking and doing their jobs, maybe his clock isn't as fast, right, when it comes down to that play where Saad gets the sack. Because he's been sacked multiple times, maybe the clock is just a little shorter than it should be, and Zach starts to panic a little bit more quickly than he should. And also, Zach is 37, right? I still think he's athletic, but 10 years ago, he blasts past Ali Saad, the defensive tackle, and he gets a first down. At age 37, that's not a guarantee anymore. We also saw a similar play on the 4th sack of the game where he tried to escape the pocket, and Micah Johnson, who's a 36-year-old defensive tackle himself, grab Zach. So to me, this is a case, and anytime you give up 5 sacks, by the way, I know it's easy to blame the O-line. Everybody blames the O-line, and I'm not suggesting the O-line was perfect in this game, but protecting the quarterback is not an offensive line skill. It is a team effort, right? It comes down to scheme. It comes back down to the O-line. It comes down to the quarterback, and it comes into all the extra protectors that came in. And when you saw this offense move the ball really well in the third quarter, they were getting Zach out of the pocket. They were rolling him. Joey Corcoran stayed in the block a few times, did a great job. Brady Oliveira threw a couple of great blocks. So you're bringing in extra protectors. You're moving the launch point, getting Zach on his horse out of that pocket. So to me, the issue there, it's easy to boil down to the 2nd and 1. I think it's astute, but there's all kinds of context leading up to that I thought played into it. And the adjustments in the third quarter were great. I think you just wish that maybe you saw some of those adjustments incorporated in the first half so that you weren't taking 3 sacks and coughing up your lead in the first half.
You mentioned Brady Oliveira. I imagine that he is a pretty frustrated guy. He rushed the ball 5 times in that football game. One of them went into the end zone, put the team up. And at that point, I remember saying, okay, this is going to be a Brady game. I mean, you have a play like that, you get into the end zone. He barely touched the ball outside of some screens for the rest of the game. And John, a lot of conversation on the golden opportunity to go up 14 in the second quarter. I guess that was when, they got the turnover. You're starting on the 5. Zach Caleros doesn't even come out. They run it twice and then kick a field goal. How did you see all that? And was that a matter of, maybe going to that look too early and kind of putting your cards on the table and not able to do it? And at that point, when you are 3rd and 2 after running those 2 plays, did you think it was the right call to throw the Castillo in and take the sure 3 as opposed to really being aggressive and trying to punch that thing in for 7, or not get any points but leave Saskatchewan on the shadow of their own goal line?
I mean, to me, and this is just my opinion, I think the aggressiveness with which you play should be dictated by the situation. So this is a situation where you're playing in the most hostile territory you're going to see all year, and you're playing against the number 1 team in the West Division in the CFL. To me, that means you got to be heck aggressive, right? You got to be extremely aggressive. If you're playing at home against a bottom feeder, you could be a little more passive, right? You got the stands, the crowd at IG behind you, or Princess Auto Stadium behind you. You've got, maybe a backup quarterback in, whatever, right? This is not that. To me, you got to be ultra aggressive. I tweeted when that field goal was kicked, you get the sense that the Bombers might regret not being more aggressive here. And then lo and behold, they got outscored 31-7 over the next 2 and a bit quarters until they started firing on all cylinders late in the game after that Mario Alford fumble. So I would have liked to see them go for it. I know that's really easy for me to say as someone who's not making that decision. And it's easy for me to say as someone with 20/20 hindsight a few days later, knowing the end results of the game. But I thought even at that moment, I'm like, you got to find a way to punch this in. I did actually like the play calls. Like I liked it. Looked like a little RPO between Strev and between Oliveira. It just didn't work. But third and goal from the 2, I think, especially in that situation, you've got to go for it, because the worst case scenario, I suppose, barring some type of pick 6, is okay. Saskatchewan stops you, and now you've got them at their 1. Bury them. Force a 2 and out, get the ball back, and you're already in field goal range, right? That's complimentary football. Instead, you kick the field goal and you give up 40 yards of field position to a good team that's at home. And honestly, I think the field goal is almost swinging momentum in Saskatchewan's direction, because everyone's going, oh, geez.
100%.
Turnover at the 5. This is a touchdown. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're getting out of this with 3 points, and then we're getting the field position back. Okay, here we go. Labor Day, 10-0. Okay, fair enough. Spotted 10 points, but we're game on now, right? That's not so. Anyways, I would have liked to see the Bombers be more aggressive there, especially considering the circumstances. I think the circumstances all day, they're dictate you be aggressive.
Yeah, listen, I agree 100% with that. I felt I was saying what you were tweeting to the people beside me, that this was, it felt like they were saying, we are putting this in by putting those guys in on the first down. And I don't know. I mean, I will say this. I think there is an argument that even if you're going to give it to Brady in that situation, having Zach in keeps them a little bit more honest about, I don't think they're at all expecting Chris Streveler to throw the football in that case. And it allowed them to put more men in the box and to truly be ready for that. I mean, I'm here for that argument. But at the end, I mean, the minute that the field goal team walked onto that field, that was a boost for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And, from that moment on, they really controlled the football game until that punt return opened the door for the Bombers to get back in the fourth quarter, John.
Well, and I think that there's a bit of a false dichotomy here. When the Bombers are in goal line position, it's like, oh, do we play Zach or do you put in Strev? My answer is, why not both? Chris Streveler has shown he can play tight end. He can play receiver. He runs the ball like a running back. Why not have Zach in the shotgun with Brady Oliveira on one side of him, Chris Streveler on the other? And there are so many opportunities, right? You can fake a handoff to Brady, pitch it out to Strev, and if he has the corner, it's a touchdown. And if he doesn't have the corner, he can throw the ball. Then it's like a play action. It could be to Brady. It could be to a crosser. It could be to whoever you want. He could even throw the ball back to Zach Collaros as some type of Philly special, right? The opportunities there are endless. And so I like getting Streveler involved. But if Zach Collaros is this team's best player, which I think is Mike O'Shea's opinion, I know Zach said this week that Nick Dembski was their best player. But I've often thought, okay, it's good to get Strev on the field, but anytime you're voluntarily taking your best player off the field, that's a questionable decision, right? And so I think you can kind of have your cake here. I need it too. Take an American receiver off the field. You're not taking Dalton Schoen off the field, but if you want to take Dylan Mitchell off the field, who they're not going to throw to in the red zone anyway, bring in Chris Streveler, and now you've got a guy where the defense is going, okay, this guy could potentially have a fake go to him. He could potentially take a handoff. He could potentially catch a pass. He could potentially roll up, beat us with his legs. He could potentially throw a block. Like, he is as versatile a weapon as there is in the Canadian Football League. So I want to see Zach and I want to see Strev on the field together in the goal line situation. I don't want to see Zach coming out the field.
One of the other things that was frustrating, and you know, when I think the team kind of goes through the tape and all that, listen, I don't know how you work on this, but you know, one of the things that I will always judge, you know, a coaching staff and a team preparation wise is the penalties. And penalties, now listen, Saskatchewan gave up more yards. I mean, it was 8 for 70 for the Bombers. It was 6 for 110. Obviously, one of those was that massive PI play with the game on the line late. But penalties really were a problem for the Bombers. And, you know, we saw, you know, at one point where they kept getting a first down and moving back. But, man, the one that just triggered me the most, John, offside on special teams on a 3rd and 5 when you're about to get the football back. I mean, those are the sort of things that frankly, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for the last 5 years have really avoided. And I do think that in these really close, tight, high leverage games, it can simply be, you know, a mistake when it comes to a hold on a return or being offside on a punt or, you know, a play that can really hamper you. And to go in and win in a place like Mosaic on Labor Day with everything that you're dealing with, I'm just not sure the Bombers were as clean enough as they had to do it. And that's going to certainly need to be improved when they get back here on Saturday afternoon.
Bingo. I think that's very well said. Mike O'Shea often talks about playing clean football. That's his term, clean. To me, clean means limit your penalties, limit your giveaways, and limit your self-inflicted mistakes, right? Make your opponent beat you. Don't beat yourself. And you're absolutely right. By the way, the player who was offside on that play is Willie Jefferson, which is like, what are we doing? Like, this is a 10-year veteran who should be one of your leaders, right? Not making that type of mistake. If it had been a first-year player, right, a late-round pick who's dressing for his 3rd career game, you go, wow, that's a bad mistake. But you kind of understand it. I don't understand how Willie Jefferson makes that type of mental mistake. Another one that I thought was killer was Brady Oliveira in the second half, rips off a 14-yard carry, and then it gets brought back for illegal procedure, no end. It's like, oh, so this isn't like a holding call where it's like, I got beat off the line of scrimmage and I had to hold somebody to keep Zach from getting killed. This is, we just didn't line up right. It's like, it's week 13.
That's
You've been to 5
excusable.
straight Grey Cups. Like, you don't know how to line up. Like, I don't know how that happens in the biggest game of the year, which, you know, is a game that, given the way the standings are, is almost a must win if you're going to have any chance to finish first place in the West Division again. So there were a number of mistakes like that were uncharacteristic, just like mental error. Again, you're always going to have penalties. That's part of professional sport. Certainly it's a part of Canadian football, but your penalties should be things that you do, right? Oh, I was a step behind the receiver. The ball was coming. I had to grab him. Yeah, that's PI. Yeah, that's on me. But at least then that's somebody beating you and you trying to make up for that mistake by bending the rules a little bit. It's not just, I forgot where to line up. Shoot. Yeah, I was in the neutral zone on a punt that I probably wasn't going to block anyway. Like, those types of mental errors are huge momentum killers, and they just provide opportunities for your opponent to get back into the game and grab that momentum.
There was some positive news for the team coming out of the game yesterday. Ontaria Wilson has signed for this year and next. He'll come back. Full disclosure, I was stunned that Joe played on the weekend. I mean, he was basically on an NFL team on Wednesday. I don't think he got into a practice. He was able to catch a 2-point convert and make a couple plays. What do you think the chances are of Ontario Wilson coming in? I did get a kick. Doug Brown, by the way, was on fire on Twitter on the weekend coming out of the game. Did say that he hoped it takes him less than 7 weeks to get into the lineup. I would imagine that will be the case. But how important is it, do you think, that Ontario is back? How do you see him helping the team moving forward? And could it be as soon as Saturday?
Well, interestingly enough, my opinion about this has changed a little bit since the Labor Day Classic. And the reason for that is I thought this was easily the best game of the year for Winnipeg's receiving corps. Like this unit through the first half of the season was like, man, there's not a lot of firepower here. Man, like Dembski is consistently winning. He's legit number one, but like, I'm not even sure there's a 2 here. Like Carrick Wheatfall, great start, then got cold. They were really doing everything they could to seemingly prevent Dylan Mitchell from playing, including starting Cody Case, who was not effective, starting Joey Corcoran, who was not effective. Finally, Mitchell gets in there. He's kind of okay. Well, this game, like Wheatfall made a brilliant play. Kevin's Clarcius made an incredible catch, one of the catches of the year, deep over top of former all-CFL DB and Winnipeg Blue Bomber Marcus Sales. Remarkable play. Dylan Mitchell, I thought, did a really nice job on some key second downs, absorbing some hits, moving the chains. And then, of course, Dalton Schoen is great. So I still think that Wilson's a nice add. I think getting him under contract for next year is huge because a lot of these receivers the Bombers have are pending free agents. But I don't think it's as impactful as maybe it would have been 2-3 weeks ago, now that Dalton Schoen is healthy and some guys seem to be stepping up. So, I mean, adding talent is never a bad thing. I would speculate to say that the first person off the roster will be Dylan Mitchell because it took him, as Doug Brown pointed out, 7 weeks to break out of purgatory the first time. I would imagine that he's going to be off the roster, but who knows? Maybe they'll put him at boundary wide, where he apparently was penciled in because the Bombers did state that they saw him as more of a wideout than a slot, and he's been in the slot now for a month. So we'll have to wait and see, but that is also typically Ontario Wilson's spot, is that boundary wideout spot. So I don't know how the receiving corps is going to be configured. I'm hoping to get to practice tomorrow to see it firsthand, but I'll put it this way. I don't think Ontario Wilson's going to have to wait a long time to get out there on the field.
Just before we go, how about that finish in the Hammer yesterday? Nick
Unbelievable.
Arbuckle, man. Nick Arbuckle. And I mean, the fact that we didn't know whether he was out with 0 seconds left. I mean, just these 2 games for the Canadian football, amazing atmospheres, full buildings. You could not sell the league any better than those 2 games. But I mean, we were watching it on the way back from Regina, and no one could believe it. And there was a good 30 seconds where we were literally going, what the hell is going on? And then obviously they kicked the field goal and walk it off.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend was the Godfather this year because it was like a masterpiece followed by a masterpiece followed by a terrible, terrible third entry. But that ending was wild. Because, and I don't know if you could hear the broadcast, TSN did a great job at the very end, putting up the slow-mo, showing that Brissett was out of bounds at the 4, and there was 1 second left. But initially, the head official announced to the crowd at Hamilton Stadium, the ball carrier stepped out of bounds at the 4, and the crowd goes ballistic, thinking, great, we've won the game, it's over. And then the second half of the announcement that I don't think many fans heard because they were cheering was, there was 1 second left. It will be first down Toronto, which of course means Liam Hiralah, who's about to rip your heart out and stomp on it with a 10-yard field goal to win. So that play from Dejan Brissett, to me, is the first play I've ever seen where on the same snap, a player simultaneously won the game, lost the game, and then won the game again. Because had he made a great catch. If he steps out of bounds at the 25-yard line, the Argos win. That's a chip shot, 32-yard field goal for Liam Hiralah. Instead, he decided, no, I'm going for the touchdown. And he almost, like half a second, he almost lost him that game. And then, as was made clear by the replay, he was in fact out with time on the clock, so he won it again. But unbelievable finish. Both of those 2 games, instant classics. I think we'll be talking about those for years to come.
Well, it reminded me of the Winnipeg BC game. Was it last year? where BC had that long play at the end, and the Bomber, and he went long enough that the Bombers tackled him, and they didn't have time left on the clock. It was
Oh yeah, I remember that was Dom Rhimes who got loose. Yeah. I think Evan Hall made the tackle.
Exactly.
I think that's the one. Yeah, crazy
a real
game.
saver. Well, anyways, listen, we back at it, but it does seem like it's sort of a 2-horse race now for first place in the West, and we'll see what the Bombers can do over this stretch to hopefully secure a playoff spot and see if they can hit the road most likely in the playoffs to see if they can get back to the big game and have one more home game in the championship. John, there's so much at 3 down. Just fill people in on what's cooking coming out of the biggest weekend of the year in the regular season.
Yeah, we've got reaction pieces from all 3 of the games this weekend from both teams. So 6 articles. Of course, I've got mine breaking down the Bombers, but we've got team perspective articles from everybody. I've got a report up about the 2027 Grey Cup bidding that's going to be completing in about a month's time. We've got our power rankings. The Bombers moved up despite the win. They're 3rd right now. The problem is they're also 3rd in the West. So that's not of much help, right? If you're hoping to get a home playoff game and potentially get back to Princess Auto Stadium for the Grey Cup. So always a ton of stuff at 3 down. And we appreciate when people come to the site, read our stuff, share it on social media, and just bookmark the site. Come back every single day. We have new stuff every single day.
Shane Payne, 123. Need more Hodge on a weekly basis. He knows ball. Loving you in the chat, pal.
All right.
Thanks for this as
Appreciate
always.
you.
And we'll look forward to doing it again really soon.
Appreciate you, Huss, anytime.
Thanks, buddy. There's John Hodge, a fellow member of our league. We'll touch on our draft last night a little bit later on. But Rewucki's coming up. Of course, we're back at Princess Auto Stadium on Saturday. Revenge game for the Bombers against the Riders in the rematch, the Banjo Bowl. Of course, Princess Auto is the home of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at Princess Auto Stadium, and Princess Auto is Winnipeg, headquartered in Winnipeg, founded in Winnipeg, and now coast to coast, but with 3 locations to serve you. Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon, where you'll find the best deals and the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them in store or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Listen, summer, it certainly feels like summer's sort of finishing up right now. Although, you know what that means moving forward. This when the snow flies, we've got sleds. And obviously, you got to get your battery ready for winter, your car ready for winter. And that might mean a trip to Manitoba Battery, the #1 spot for all of your battery needs, whether it's for your boat and a camper in the summer or your car and your truck in the winter. Manitoba Battery is the biggest and best selection of batteries. And as Donnie always says, wake up, Winnipeg. Stop paying more for your batteries at the big box stores. The best prices in town on batteries, bar none. Save up to $60 a battery with Manitoba Battery. You can pop by and see them in store, Logan Avenue, or on Dovercourt Drive in the south end of the city, or just give them a holler or order online because they'll deliver those batteries to you for free with any purchase over $60 anywhere inside the perimeter. It's just that easy. Keep it local and save cash with Manitoba Battery online at manitobabattery.com. And hey, turn of the seasons might mean a time for a trip down to F Apparel. Guys, if you need to up your menswear game heading into the fall and winter, get on down to F, 190 Smith Street downtown. The best in custom men's clothing, custom suits starting at just $400. Chinos and golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, the best selection of menswear accessories around. And of course, they are the go-to spot for weddings. If you are getting married or in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the fellas at F about a special discount when you get your suits at F Apparel. Right now, 190 Smith Street is where you want to go. Check them out online at F, that's EPHapparel.com, to pop in and set up a time for a fitting. All right, let's bring in Rewucki. Coming off the long weekend. Brandon, how was your few days off? You ready to get back to it? Hockey season just a few weeks away, and we're 48 hours or so from NFL kickoff.
Yeah, the obligatory Go Birds. But doing good. I mean, about as good as you could after some of the happenings on Labor Day there. But all in all, a good time and ready to get at it.
What did you think of the football game?
I don't. Maybe I shouldn't go as far as saying. I guess this would be where I would fall on where the Bombers are at right now. Is they are too often making it a habit of being outcoached in games this season. And I forget which game it was earlier in the year, but there was a play call the Bombers had on offense where they were moving the ball well, they're inside the red zone, and all of a sudden Strevler back to pass, lobs up an absolute lame duck interception, nullifies any momentum they had on the drive in that game. I think
that was up 6 against Calgary.
Wasn't that game? Okay, yeah.
Or Toronto, I should say.
Yeah. So that play, I'm like, that's as bad as it gets in play calling. You're not going to see a team this year really screw it up when it comes to play selection, at a certain point of a game, at a certain down and distance that. And then we saw the Bombers have 3 separate occasions in that game against Saskatchewan alone. The second and 1 play call to go shotgun there is it's just football 101. Like, you just don't see a team do it. I just hate when coaches in football try to do the whole I'm smarter than you type of a play call. When you need 8 inches, just do what 99% of football has done over the last 100 of years and just run the ball and you get a 1st and 10 and away you go here. And so that, there was that play, the 2-point conversion play call where you throw a 5-yard pass that travels 60 yards in the air across the field to the fastest DB on the other team, or it's just like the Bombers didn't beat themselves for years and years and years. And I think that was a pretty subtle element of their secret sauce. And that's what sunk them this year, Huss. And even just the game against Saskatchewan alone, where they lose the turnover battle and they're just making uncharacteristic, dumb football plays. And it's frustrating because that was a game that, was tight for the majority of the contest, but they should have pulled that one out. They should have pulled it out and they beat themselves. And I hate when teams beat themselves. It's those unnecessary, unforced errors that are really the difference between a first round bye in the playoffs to a 2 or a 3 seed, and what might be a 3 seed now, and trying to win a couple road games to then get a home game in the Grey Cup.
Well, it sort of feels like 3 would be the high end in the division, based on what happened this weekend. I mean, you can make an argument that maybe 4th in the division, if you can get the crossover, is the place to be this year. Because listen, the bottom line is it looks like if the Bombers are going to be playing a home game in the playoffs, they're going to have to find a way to get to the Grey Cup on the road by winning 2 games. Yeah. So we'll see what's there right now. Let's flip over to hockey for a minute. Just seeing this from Dave Pagnotta reporting. The talks between the Winnipeg Jets and Kyle Connor's camp are expected to pick up as early as this week. His next deal will start with a 1, followed by at least 7 zeros. Listen, that's the number is obvious. We all know that. But that would, I guess, be positive because, listen, I know there's some bigger fish, Connor McDavid being one of them, that has a lot of angst among fan bases. But I'm pretty adamant, Brandon, that it would not be a good thing for the Winnipeg Jets to have Kyle Connor's future hanging over the team like a dark cloud throughout the season. I mean, if it's not done on opening day, okay. But, I know I talked to Ken, and Ken says, well, I wouldn't worry about it till March. I'm like, dude, it will be such a big deal throughout the entire season. I think it would have some negative effects on it. And again, they got to figure it out. If everything's going well and they're going to get a deal done, awesome. But if they're not going to, you need to find that out earlier as opposed to later to avoid what happened last year with Nikolai Ehlers.
Bang on. I mean, yeah, sorry to cut you off there, but it would be organizational malpractice to have 2 wingers of those caliber to walk out the door for that. You just can't have it. So I don't have a ton of worry about this because it seems like things are cordial on both sides here. I also think that contract negotiations need to be viewed in a different lens in Winnipeg than in a lot of other markets, right? Where, maybe in Minnesota, there isn't as much of a angst-ridden time trying to get Kaprizov signed than there is. You just need to be cognizant of where you are in the NHL environment, right? And the Jets are a team, one of the few teams I would say that just can't have these things drag on in season. And so if it means you jump the queue a little bit and maybe you pay $500K more per season before you find out what some of these other guys are going to make, to me, that's the price of doing business. And I think there's a lot in the guarantee of having a high endpoint producing player locked up for the long term that you don't make this you don't want it to turn into a Micah Parsons, Jerry Jones pissing match where, we're going to argue about this and this dollar. Like, if the player wants to be here long term and both sides are semi-reasonable in their ask, I think this is just something you find a way to get done. Because again, we are seeing this in a lot of other places, but if you let Kyle Connor walk out the door, how are you replacing 45 some odd goals, 90 some odd points? I just don't envision that even being on the radar for the Winnipeg Jets. And they need help behind him too. So like, how are you going to get help behind him and then find a replacement for him? So I'm with you where it's like, this just cannot, if it drags on in season, I think you need to have a self-imposed deadline of, look, let's make up a date, but November 25th, Kyle, we need an answer. Like we cannot put ourselves in this situation. And I don't think it's going to get to that point, but I do feel like management is cognizant enough of the fact that we got to try to get it done before camp starts or before the season starts. And if it doesn't, we got to look out for ourselves here. We will have to make a tough decision, similar to what we saw Colorado do this past year.
Yeah, and listen, I think that based on if they do kind of get to the city and crank things out, I mean, I would, if they're both working on something, I think something gets done. I mean, the Jets have shown that. Like what they need to do though is find out whether that is the intention of it. Haven't heard anything that says to the contrary, and then figure it out and move forward and get on to winning hockey games. Guys on the ice, saw Taves wheeling out there today. It's like just a couple weeks and training camp is on board. And that I'm still thinking about that opening game. I mean, the combination of Taves returning to the National Hockey League and Mark Scheifele's return to Winnipeg, the fans after, losing his father in Game 6 in Dallas. That'll be a very, very memorable game, I think, for many other reasons, regardless of what happens in the actual game on the ice. How excited are you for Thursday to see your Birds go up against the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL opener? The Cowboys without Micah Parsons.
Yeah, isn't that fun? I mean, I obviously feel good about the Birds. I feel even better about the Cowboys, to be honest, than their chances this year. But I mean, that game will be kind of an interesting one. I do wonder if the Cowboys on the spread might not be a bad play, because although the one thing I do think about Dallas this year is, whatever Dak Prescott's over under for passing yards, hammering the over, because with their defense sitting up the way it is and the fact that they have no run game and the addition of Pickens, I think he's going to be well over 4,000 yards this year.
A 12-1 to lead the NFL in passing.
I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't hate that bet.
I am on that. I mean, I think they don't have much of a run game. And listen, garbage time points count just as much as any other ones. And I mean, to me, I think for them to be competitive, Dak's going to have to be going for 350 a game.
Yep. I mean, the only thing with him would just be injuries. Like but I mean, you could say that about pretty much any quarterback in terms of year-end stats, right? But I mean, to me, Philly's the best team in the NFC. I think there is a bit of a drop-off, honestly, between them and the next closest team. It's also boring because I think a Super Bowl rematch is the most likely scenario at the end of it. Although the one caveat I'll put there, I don't know if you feel any different about this, but if we're doing the Chiefs or the new Patriots, eventually Peyton Manning and the Colts did break through against New England. And I wonder if this could be the year that we see Josh Allen and the Bills finally do breakthrough, mainly just off of like a probability perspective that you can't lose to the same team over and over. Eventually you will beat them in one of those simulations. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the Thursday season opener. And in a rarity, I don't think we'll hear any boos on Thursday night. So we might get an Eagles game. But the Philadelphia crowd is respectful.
They'll boo the banner. It's not nice enough or something like that. Well, what's funny? Next week, we will be in war mode. because our teams, it will be a Super Bowl rematch in week 2, Arrowhead. I'm going to be there. Cannot wait for it. But I think we have it the best this week. You have it the best because your team's raising a freaking Super Bowl banner. So I'll give you this one. Thursday night. But then Chiefs Chargers Friday night, prime time from Brazil. Mix in the Banjo Bowl on Saturday, and then the full slate of games on Sunday. And there's some beauty. A lot of, I think I counted 8 games with spreads of under a field goal. So really tight games. But, dude, the Sunday nighter, we bitch a lot about scheduling and, in different leagues. Oh, why are they doing this? Bills, Ravens, Sunday night football, week 1. Well done, NFL. I can't wait for the entire first weekend, but what an incredible way to finish up the first Sunday of the season. Are you kidding?
I know. It's amazing. And even the Chiefs game Friday night in Brazil is that's a bit of a beauty, right? And the Chargers have always historically played Kansas City pretty tough. But,
for sure.
You get that. It's the perfect where the two teams that are best positioned to attempt their dethronal of the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And it's funny too because ultimately for them, the game doesn't matter. Nothing they do in the regular season matters for either one of these teams. It's just a nice early season measuring stick type of a contest. But I think my bold prediction for the NFL season this year is going to be that we see the Buffalo Bills make. They kind of dipped their toes into it with the Amari Cooper trade last year. I don't know who it's going to be, Huss, but I'm going to say that they make a major wide receiver acquisition at some point during this season. And that's going to be what potentially pushes them over the top. I'll say that speaking to a Chiefs fan, potentially puts them over the top. But both. It's just funny because both those teams are outstanding. They can't get past the big bad bully, and I don't really know how either. When all those games have been so close for so many years.
Yeah, they've found ways to win, and I know it's very cliche, but they certainly have done that. And hey, let's get going on with the season. Brandon, great stuff. Much more cordial than our conversation will be next week. Enjoy week 1 of the NFL. I hope you have a great week 1 because I hope you have a terrible week 2.
Yeah,
I'll talk to you then.
Get the expletive buzzer ready to go for next week. All right, I'll bring the Philly big time.
Thanks for doing this, dude. There's Brandon Rewucki. Check out Skates and Plates as he's gearing up for the upcoming season over on the Skates and Plates channel, available wherever you get your favorite podcasts as well. All right, we're going to bring in Connor and Reem here. We do want to get into a little bit of NFL. We'll get Connor's thoughts on the game as well. Hey, hockey season is here, folks, and that means if you are a player or have a player in your family, you got to get down to Royal Sports and make sure you are ready to drop the puck for 2025. For over 50 years, Royals has been the hockey superstore with hockey players working in the store to give you the best advice on the best equipment, best fit, for another great season of the game that we all love. Everything from skates, full equipment, sticks, tape, goalie equipment, you name it. Royal has it all. Head on down to 750 Pembina Highway if you haven't already. One stop is all you need to get fully ready for the season. And of course, as the NFL season starts, new NFL gear coming in, tons of Bomber gear and Jets gear getting ready to drop the puck as well. Royals at 750 Pembina Highway. Follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg as well for the latest merchandise drops and sale information, including the upcoming tent sale. Lots going on at Boston Pizza as we get ready for the NFL opener. The wait is over. NFL is back. We got primetime games on Thursday, on Friday, on Sunday, and of course on Saturday. It's the Banjo Bowl, and most nights right now, the Jays in the middle of a wild playoff race of their own. Boston Pizza is the best place to get together with your gang. Check out what they're doing for Burger Week as well this week. But when it comes to the NFL, great prizes, great promos at your local Boston Pizza. And hey, if you're staying at home, order online at bostonpizza.com. All right, just before we bring in Connor and Reem back to the program, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out. learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's we're going to talk some tennis in a few minutes with John Horn. Jake Bolin Moss will join us as well, but the boys are back. Connor, how was the weekend? How were the wedding festivities? Were you able to watch most of the game, or were you tied up? How did that all work out? By the way, new Bomber Report is up with Schnitzy, fresh off of our Labor Day trip, and Connor. Check that out after you consume Winnipeg Sports Talk today. What's going on? How was it?
Oh, it was a great weekend. The wedding was amazing. The party was awesome. Would have been the party would have gone even later had the Bombers, tied that game on the 2-point convert and figured it out there. But yeah, I was able to catch a little bit of it. I mean, I admittedly stopped watching when it was 31-17, and then when I saw that the Bombers were kind of staging a comeback, I watched that final drive. And then, I rewatched the game the next day because I did miss most of it. But yeah, Schnitzy echoed your thoughts in terms of, the amount of Bomber fans in Regina and how much fun the 1930 crew was. And it was cool to hear that experience and especially the atmosphere in that stadium. And yeah, tough that the Bombers couldn't pull that one out. Incredible game, though. I mean, rewatching it, knowing how the game was going to end, watching it back and just seeing all the events that unfolded. What an incredible game. And then somehow it got one-upped by maybe the game of the year with Hamilton and Toronto. But I had a great weekend, capped it off with the Media Fantasy League draft last night. And I'm feeling pretty good about my team and this month. NFL's here, Banjo Bowl's here this week at least. I'm fired up.
Yeah, the draft was a lot of fun. Remo, how did you you were picking in the 11 hole.
Yes, I don't like...
This is a super flex league, so there was a lot of quarterbacks that went early. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about your work last night?
Yeah, we had the Winnipeg Media League draft. Went on as scheduled, almost had a delay us when Commissioner Taylor Allen texted everyone at 6 p.m. saying his flight got delayed and requested a time change on a draft that had been scheduled like a month ago. I feel bad that he had to miss his flight. I guess you have to ask, but cool. I
think he had Wi-Fi on it. He made it happen.
Yeah,
figured it out.
The common sense prevailed. I do love, my favorite thing is, what's the craziest place you've done a fantasy draft? Taylor Allen did his on the plane. Mike McIntyre on the cruise ship in Bermuda. So everyone is somewhere fascinating. I was in the 12th spot. I was having my first two picks, CeeDee Lamb and Christian McCaffrey. Waited till rounds 4 and 5. I got two quarterbacks in Jordan Love and Drake May, as it is a 2-quarterback league. But that 11th spot's tough. A long wait, so I had to reach for some guys. I did get my draft grade, and Yahoo thinks my team will go 7-7. So I guess I'm feeling okay. We'll see how it goes. I think I went a little hard on the rookies. There, but hey, you never know.
I saw your team afterwards. I was going to text you saying, that this is not a keeper league, right? But in all joking aside, I mean, sometimes these rookies get thrust into spots where they can pop and really help you. Okay, I've just seen these league draft grades for the first time, and unlike last year, I think Yahoo knows what they're doing. My newly named team, and I had a logo ready to go from the weekend, the Huss Bus. The Huss Bus got an A+, Connor, for my draft grade. Just an absolute clinic put on.
Did they see your wide receivers?
They said, listen, my receivers are excellent for where I picked them. That's why I lean on the experts, like for instance, with Thomas Triple, fantasypoints.com. Cortland Sutton, Calvin Ridley were how they were available. I have no idea, but I was more than happy to jump on them. Myers, I think, is going to be a guy that everyone goes, wow. You don't really think of the Raiders very much. but he was great. But I'll tell you what, going Jaden Daniels, Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, Trey McBride for the first 4 picks. They've arguably got a top 3 QB, top 2 top 2 tight end. And then who did I have? And then Pittman, Keenan Allen. Those guys will be warm bodies that can actually go in and play at some point. So I'm feeling quite good about the upcoming season. Now you did not get a very nice email from Yahoo, did you?
No, that ruined my morning, seeing that email. No, but actually Yahoo saying that I'm going to have a bad season is just amazing, because now it's just, I actually feel more confident.
Chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, I feel more confident about my team now that Yahoo thinks it sucks. Yeah, I mean, I'm very balanced. My first 4 picks, I went quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tight end. I got George Kittle in the middle of the 4, and everyone all the time with the 49ers is, who is Brock Purdy going to throw to? Well, maybe an all-pro tight end, maybe the best tight end in football.
Did you take him before McBride or after?
I did. I see them as like pretty equal value in terms of fantasy, and Kittle's my guy, so I'm gonna do that. And then Herbert, I needed a quarterback. The run was happening. I'm worried about Achan's calf, and I'm pretty thin at running back already. That is the one big weakness with my team. But I love Tet McMillan and Emeka Egbuka as my 2 and 3 wide receivers. Tons of upside. Malik Neighbors is going to get 1 million targets this year. And Yahoo projects me to go 2 and 12. D- draft grade. Unbelievable. I'm projected to win week 1 against Darren, against DBs. So I don't know. I'm just trying to go 1-0 this week, Cuss. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, a chain. I'm very scared about anybody in the Miami offense, to be honest with you. I am too.
But he was in the 3, or like the late 3, the 3.8.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, it was pretty tough needing a running back not to go that way. You just got to hope that Tua plays, because his production goes off a cliff when Tua's not in there. And it was even the same thing with Tyreek Hill. I mean, his ADP has dropped big time, but I mean, when he plays, he's in there. Yeah, you guys both got a few rookies. I mean, Tetro, McMillan, and Mbuka both starting for you. Mm-hmm. Love the Neighbors pick. Obviously, got Joe Burrow. That is great. Who are the rookies that you ended up jumping on, Reem?
Oh, I got Scatabo on the Giants.
Oh yeah,
and I got Omarion Hampton in the 3rd round as my 2nd running back. I also got Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt and Washington, bit of a committee there for running backs, and then I got Bashal Tutin on the Jaguars. So I do have a lot of rookies. It makes me nervous, but I think you're seeing in the NFL now guys are coming in and making an impact. Injuries happen throughout the season, and it opens up for some of these rookies. Maybe they're not the best plays for the first couple weeks, but as I dip my toes back into season-long fantasy, I realized that every single person gets injured. My entire team was injured last year. It was so miserable. So I think I'm okay here to start. Oh, I got this other guy, Luther Burden on Chicago. I got a lot of rookies. I don't know.
He could end up being a bit of a catch machine. In our league, for people that are wondering, it's a half-point PPR, so sort of a hybrid between standard and full-point PPR. But while in a lot of the other leagues, I've been jumping on a whole bunch of these rookies, in this league, once I kind of had the start that I had, I was just looking for value in guys that I figured that would play, that could fill in those holes, and kind of went away from some of the rookies for more established guys that fell because of some of those other players around. So, we'll keep you up to date on the Media League throughout it. I am going up against who's my first week's matchup?
You're playing against Billick.
Yes, Scotty Billick, who of course has Mahomes and the worthy stack. Damn. Well, maybe I'll be down by 40 after Friday night. I'd be fine with that if that happens.
I'm playing against Darren, who has Brock Purdy. And so I guess we're all rooting against our guys week 1, at least for fantasy purposes. I want CMC to have a massive day. That's good news for you, Remis.
Yeah, I'm playing against Josh Frey Sam, who got the letter from Yahoo saying they think he's going to go like 1 and 12, something like that. He posted it in the group chat, which I'm back in now after beefing with Jeff Hamilton last week. Did you guys talk about that?
No.
Did that come up?
Jeff, no.
Jeff was
the
trying
league
to
was in fine form We had some some great bad. Well, Hammer is an epic group chat shit disturber.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than anyone that I've come across. I mean, he rolls in and just starts stirring it up and does a fine job of that.
I knew what he was doing. We're in this group chat, and Hammer's like trying to roast everyone about entry fees and everything. And I'm like, Jeff, like, why are you getting on everyone here? Why are you yelling at everyone? What's going on? He kept going. And I was like, you know what, Jeff? I got work to do. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys at the draft. So I left the group chat, and then I came back in yesterday. So I was out for a couple days. I'm not putting up with. Look, I've been in fantasy group chats for like over 20 years here. Okay, I've been in my fair share, but I needed to get work done. I couldn't be there hammering away, arguing about fantasy football on my phone. And I said, Jeff, I'm done. I don't need to put up with this. I'm too old to deal with this anymore. I don't know why you're so angry, but I'll see you on draft day.
If you didn't have such a great nickname for your team already with Remis Island,
yes,
that infamous phrase that you said to Jeff in the chat would have been a great team name as well.
I mean, that's
the motto. That's the motto for Remis Island 2025.
Well, I guess you have to say it. So yeah, I mean, John Hodge texted. So I wrote "suck my ass, Jeff," and left the chat. And look, it's a work thing. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but he's being so egregious. I just needed to get my point across. So, look, we've all been in that fantasy football group chat where there's one guy needling everyone, trying to get a rise out of you, trash talking, and I was trying to get a lot of work done, and he wouldn't let it go. And you're also typing, and the words don't get interpreted the way that you want them to when you're in a text group chat, and I was getting frustrated.
Well, knowing Hammer, he probably, any way that they could be interpreted, I'm sure he jumped.
I will say real quick for anyone wondering, Week 7, Jeff versus Remis in fantasy.
Good.
So that's their first matchup.
I'll take on Jeff. Jeff thinks he's got the best team out there. He thinks no one can beat him, no matter who he picks. So I'd like to take him out there.
I liked his team. The Yahoo, not as much. He got a D+, and they're suggesting that he is going to be 6-8. They've got me as scheduled at 13-1.
What?
13-1, right there. That's how you get an A+. But it's funny. I found myself at 6, and normally I'm like, oh God, 6 is a terrible spot. You're just out, but. A couple, Chase and I think Bijan went, and one other. Oh, Gibbs. I think Gibbs
Jefferson
went as well.
I think,
or maybe it was Jefferson. Anyways, I was able to get Jade Daniels in a 2-quarterback league. I was more than happy to do that. And then I got JJ McCarthy and Bryce Young, who I think will be pretty good. And then guys, legitimately 2 more sleeps, and we've got this Philly Cowboys game. I was just saying, I know a lot of people have some draft tonight or Wednesday heading into the opener. But, the minute I got to Friday night or Saturday morning, I knew we were set, the most wonderful time of the year. 3 days in Regina for the Labor Day game, came back and did the Media League, come back, couple other kind of group friend leagues over the next couple days. Thursday, Cowboys-Eagles. Friday, Chiefs-Chargers. Saturday, Banjo Bowl. Sunday, first full NFL Sunday, finishing with Bills-Ravens in prime time. Ooh. And then J.J. McCarthy's first game with the Vikings in the Monday Nighter against the Bears on Monday, leading into next week. I mean, sign me up for it. I mean, the vibes are very high right now in and around the fantasy headquarters. As well. Now, you know what? While you guys are here, Jake, Pat, and I went through all of our futures picks and our predictions. Here we are right before the season. Would you guys like to make any NFL season predictions right now on the program? AFC winner, NFC winner, Super Bowl winner. or anything else from the futures market or someone that's going to lead the league. Connor, do you have any hot and spicy takes that you'd like to put on the record on WST before kickoff?
Absolutely. That's like the easiest thing ever. NFC West winner, 49ers plus 150. You said, Huss, that I was gonna bring the Niners propaganda. I'm doing it here. They have the easiest schedule in the National Football League, and the injury issues are blown way out of proportion. Juwan Jennings was practicing this week. So was
you sniped me big time on him last night. I thought
exactly.
I waited on the receivers. I'm like, oh my God, everyone's gonna be free. But then I'm like, no. Connor's picking before me. He's taking him for sure.
He slid 3 rounds as if he's actually hurt. He just kind of had a calf injury and said, I don't have a contract. I'm not practicing this year. And again, the Niners don't really have any major injuries, at least to start camp. All of their running backs that were hurt in the preseason are now healthy. Juwan Jennings is healthy. I like the Buffalo Bills to come out of the AFC. I know we've been saying that for many years now, and it's very tough to bet against the Chiefs. And I see you're smirking, Huss, but I think it's one of those two. Like, I still just don't have confidence in the Ravens, personally, once it gets to playoff time. So I'm still on the Bills or even the Chiefs, as much as it pains me to say, coming out of the AFC. But my favorite futures bet, honestly, and it, again, pains me to say it because I hate the Eagles, and I don't use that lightly, but they're so loaded. Their roster is so stacked. I don't see a world in which the Eagles don't come out of the NFC again. Whether or not they win the Super Bowl or go back to back, I'm not really sure, but at plus 400, they have longer odds than the Bills, Ravens, and Chiefs to come out of the AFC. And I think the NFC is weaker, and I think the Eagles are better. I don't know. I see the Eagles as returning most of the same team, still a very, very stacked roster. So I'll go Bills, Eagles, and let's say the Bills win the Super Bowl. That's my prediction as we sit here on September 2nd.
You know, by the way, just while we get to your thoughts on this, I mentioned Derek Schmitz in the chat, and he, of course, won the Coolbet contest and was with us. So we're all partying in Wayne's World. You know, we get there like 3 hours before the game. Everyone's having drinks. It's mayhem in there. And it was so hot. And I thought, you know what, okay, before we walk back, let's just kick it back to the bus for a minute. 10 minutes, cool down, finish a beer in there. Well, Derek's in there and he's talking about, you know, he was drafting his team from the bus at Wayne's World. The beauty of technology. So he did it all. He got his team in and was with us in Mosaic Stadium for the game. Remo, what about you? Any hot and spicy NFL takes or predictions?
I did like, it was a couple weeks ago, we mentioned CeeDee Lamb as lead the league in receiving yards. I mean, him or Christian McCaffrey at 20-1 to be offensive player of the year. I think there's some decent odds, like Jaden Daniels at 35-1 or Lamar Jackson. I mean, you look at some of these names, Huss, some big names, I think, paying big numbers. I mean, Saquon Barkley, the big favorite offensive player of the year. Jamar Chase as well. I don't know if it's like that clear cut. We have some good players down low. MVP, yeah, it seems like it's Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. They're the big favorites. But Jaden Daniels 10-1, a bit down. You like him. Huge impact on Washington. I'm curious how he's going to do in his second season, being able to throw to Deebo Samuel. And I mean, Brock Purdy, he was in it a couple of years ago until like that final game against the Ravens. He's at 25-1. I don't think he'll win, but it was a couple of years ago. He was down to the final weeks of the season, but I think tough to beat Jackson, Allen, Burrow when you're looking at MVP awards. So I'm not a big futures guy, but if you want to do there, that's what I was.
What about your
there.
winners? What about AFC, NFC? Like, what's our Super Bowl matchup?
It's probably Ravens year. Sorry, Bills. And if you look at, I'll go with Green Bay. Put it together. That's a real. I
don't mind Green Bay at 6-1.
That's a tough decision. It's easy for me to say Eagles to repeat. I think tough to knock them off, but I think Green Bay's an interesting one. So I'll go Green Bay because I don't want to do the favorite.
I'm just looking at so this is good. I'm obviously on the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens. One of those three teams, the most likely ones that we will see. And just in case you're wondering, we'll get into this with Jake in a bit. But over at Coolbet, Bills and Ravens are plus 350 to win the AFC. Chiefs are plus 375. Bills are plus 625 to win the Super Bowl. 650 for the Ravens. 750 for the Eagles. 8-1 for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then the Packers are now in a dead heat with the Lions to win the Super Bowl. But that Micah Parsons trade did shake up the NFC North odds, despite them both being 10-1 for the Super Bowl. The Packers are plus 150 and the Lions are 2-1. If you do want a much more in-depth look at, some futures bets, picks for the upcoming season, if you go to our YouTube channel, the WST winners from Friday with myself, Pat Gregoire, and Jake, we made, what did we do? We did our favorite player props. We did award winners. We did win totals. We did to make the playoffs bets. We hit the divisions and everything else. So we're in good shape for if you want a little last minute futures run through. And of course, get those bets in if you want at Coolbet before Thursday night, because at that point things go off the board. They'll come back in intermittently, but if you want a true preseason before any game is played, that's where things are at right now as we prepare for Sunday night kickoff in the National Football League. Now, Jake Bolin is going to join us in a few minutes, but we are going to check in with John Horn, who is getting ready to follow our guy Felix Auger-Aliassime at the U.S. Open men's singles quarterfinals, going up against Alex de Minaur. Now, I think John is there with us and ready to go. John, can you hear us okay?
What's going on? Can you see me, guys?
We certainly can. We certainly can. How are things out at the Arthur Ashe and the USTA?
Well, I'm actually at the airport right now, so I haven't got there just yet, but we're getting closer. So that's the game plan. Just making my way. So I'm actually in line at the thing was a little slower this morning than I thought. So thought things would go a little faster, but we're on pace. We're on schedule.
Gotta love it. Of course, a couple quarters today, but tomorrow we got Felix Auger-Aliassime. He's still playing right now. John, just take us through Felix's path to this point, and how significant is it for a player that, had been to these spots before, but had seen his ranking, his seeding really drop over the last season and a half.
Yeah, I think it's impressive what he's been able to do, just in this little run. I mean, he had a pretty good start to the year, and then since then it's been kind of downhill. So he's been a lot better recently than he has throughout the rest of the year. He had a lot of Grand Slam issues. He didn't play well at the French Open, lost in the first round. Sorry, I'm just checking in as we're doing this, so I apologize. First round in the French, he lost. Second round of Wimbledon, he lost in the first round in Montreal. So hadn't had a really good stretch, and then suddenly he just turned on the ignition, and he's just playing a lot better now. So it's certainly, playing best of five is definitely different than a best of three. And I certainly think that the way that he's played against two top players in Zverev and Rublev, players that he's struggled with in the past, that Rublev he lost 7 of the last 8 matches against, and just an impressive showing for him, and just seems to be a completely different player. So it's going to be tough against Alex de Minaur in the next round. He's the number 8 seed, number 8 player in the world, quick player, moves really well. It's going to be difficult for him.
You mentioned the 8 seed. I mean, Zverev was 3, so he has knocked off big time players before. With his experience in some of these big game matches, I mean, this is not really new to him, but I imagine from Felix's perspective, this is the biggest opportunity he's had in a long time to, win a winnable match. I mean, although he will be an underdog, and move on to, a Grand Slam semifinal.
Yeah, I mean, look, he hasn't done well in Grand Slams. I mean, his last quarterfinal was at the 22 Australian Open, and that's over 3 years ago. He hasn't been in the semis or in the quarters of the U.S. Open since 2021. And like I said, he's had a lot of poor efforts at slams, being out early in the first and second round. And it's just been a disappointing run. So, I mean, certainly has an opportunity here. I mean, I guess the other thing is if he does win this, he'll have to likely play Jannik Sinner in the semis, and that's no easy ticket, obviously. But, I have a feeling that Sinner might be beatable at this tournament. So, I mean, Alcaraz is my favorite to win it. But I think if he plays the way he's been playing, the aggressive style and serving well, getting those first serves in, I certainly think that he has a shot. So, we'll see what happens. Every match is you never know what's going to happen in tennis. You can play good players and play really well. And as Felix has this year, he's lost the players that he should be beating. So it's certainly one of those situations where, you get on a roll, and this is what happens to players. You win 7 matches in a row, and you win a Grand Slam. It's that simple. And if you play well and you put everything together in a couple of weeks, then it comes together for some players. And it just hasn't happened for Felix, but this is certainly a step in the right direction. He won those 2 tournaments earlier in the year, smaller tier tournaments. The bigger tournaments, he hasn't fared well, but now suddenly his game's coming along and he's got that confidence. So, maybe because he's getting married in a week or so too. Maybe that's something inspiring. Maybe he needs money for the wedding. I'm not
those
sure.
are expensive. Those are expensive.
Those are expensive. Yeah, and I'm sure it won't be a cheap wedding either. So every dollar he gets, he's already guaranteed $660,000 for his quarterfinal appearance. So get all the way to the final and win it, and you get $5 million. So that would be a nice way to finish up the U.S. Open and a nice wedding gift for him and his wife.
Hey, just on that, like what's the finances? Like if it's $660 that he's guaranteed, what if he makes the semis? Like how big of a difference are we talking?
I think we're close to $1 million, or just under $1 million. Ooh. We're close to $1 million. So yeah, I mean $5 million for winning it, right? 2.5 for being the runner up. So you're probably 1.5 for the semis. So maybe just under $1 million, but somewhere in that neighborhood. But definitely, these guys don't need the money. I mean, look, he's already got millions in his bank account from sponsorship and everything that he's earned already. So this is all extra money, and now it's all about winning tournaments and titles. And this is a title that he would obviously love to win. It's been a long time since we've seen a Canadian hoist the Grand Slam trophy. We saw Bianca do it in 2019, but no male has done it in a long, long time. I'd have to go way back in the record books for that. We've seen it in doubles, but not singles. So it would certainly be a monumental achievement, but still lots ahead before we start getting too excited about that.
Hey, John, just before we go, I guess I can publicly thank you for those great tips on Victoria Mboko a few weeks back.
Oh, yeah.
Myself and many of our listeners were in early on Vicky, and what an incredible run she had. How optimistic are you that Felix can do the job, albeit as a plus 130 underdog?
Well, first of all, I'm still waiting for my dinner invite there, so I think you'll be buying me dinner after those predictions.
The table is set for you, my friend.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I think Felix has got a chance to get to a final. I mean, I think Sinner is going to be the guy he's got to beat in the semis. So first, he's got to beat Guimanur, who's been in the U.S. Open quarters 3 times before. He's a tricky player. He's like probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest player out there. It's going to be tough to beat him. But like I said, if he plays the way that he did against Zverev, if he plays the way he did against Rublev, I mean, he dominated Rublev in the last round, and that was an impressive showing. So just play aggressively, serve well, just have that confidence that he can do it. And he's got the crowd behind him, it seems like, and I think he'll have the crowd behind him in that match too. So let's see what happens.
John, thanks so much for the time. I know you're busy. We'll let you get all that bag checked in. Have a safe flight, and enjoy what will hopefully be another great day for Canadian tennis tomorrow in New York.
Let's hope so. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John. There's John Horn. You can follow him on X @SportsHorn. Great to have John join us today. All right, JBM is going to join us in just a minute. Man, it was fun being able to sprinkle on the Gold Eyes this year. Obviously, they had one horrible month of July that sort of nuked the season. But from, obviously we were in Regina, but following from afar, just a great final weekend of the regular season out at Shaw Park, or at Blue Cross Park. Want to thank the Gold Eyes. So much fun working with them. Congratulations to them and their staff on a great season. And certainly, I mean, the jewel of the city in the summer is going down to see the Fish play, and it'll be a long off season, but we'll look forward to doing it again next year. Big cheers to the Gold Eyes on a great year. We'll get to Assiniboia Downs a little bit later on when we make our picks after Jake jumps on. And, of course, we'll remind you that we got a countdown to the Ryder Cup right now. Not a lot going on in world golf right now as everyone prepares for it, but lots happening at Breezy Bend as they kind of get back to normal post-Manitoba Open. But what a year it's been out at Breezy Bend, and just the last few years, the way they've changed the course and improved the clubhouse. If you are thinking about making Breezy your long-term golfing home for you and your family, I'd suggest you get in touch with Corey Johnson now on talking about 2026 membership at Breezy. You can call 895-7205, ask for Corey, or go online to breezybend.ca. All right, let's get JBM in here as we literally count down the hours until NFL kickoff. We've got our first look at NFL lines for the year, and I am ready for it. Remo, if you want to unmute Jake and bring him on here, we'll get underway. Jakey, what is going on? How are you? Jake, is that? I think it's you're muted on your.
Jake's muted himself. I can't.
Okay, perfect.
Now he's good.
He's back. He's good to go, and we're 2 days away from NFL kickoff. What's up? How was the long weekend?
Yeah, what's going on, boys? I was nervous. I lost track of time, and I had about 5 minutes, and I was setting up the mic, and I had the computer issues last week, so I went to the work laptop for today. Hopefully, I sound all right. Hopefully, I look all right for the viewers, because that was an absolute nightmare last Friday for the old.
No, hey, listen, you look great. You're sounding great, and we'll. By the way, we'll just plug it again. For those of you that love our NFL conversations and talking about our picks and going into the spreads and talking some fantasy, 10 a.m. Friday mornings from here on out, we'll be live with WST winners, brought to you by our friends at Coolbet, myself, Jake, Pat, with our picks, and the full future special, which is about an hour and a half of just fun NFL content and discussions about the upcoming season, is up at the up on the channel right now. Jake, I got home last night from the Labor Day game, and we had an amazing time. Shout out to Derek Schmidt, our Coolbet winner. He was awesome. We gave out some fun Coolbet stuff. Lots of people enjoyed it. And I will say this, as much as we were choked that the Bombers did not win the game, one of the more bizarre and unlikely covers in a long time in that game, the way that it happened. But I got home last night. We did our Media League draft. I threw on the Bill Simmons pod with him and Sal. And for the first time, I had actually been not looking at the week 1 lines up until today. And then I pull up this slate of games. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games on the slate. 10 of 16 games at 3 points or less. This is one of the best week 1 schedules I can ever remember. And yes, I'm fired up. The Chiefs are in prime time. It'll be great to get things going with Dallas, Philly. The Bills-Ravens Sunday night game is a gift to football fans around the world. And then even for teams that are sort of middling or not much is expected of, we've got games that are just amazing, amazing matchups. I can't remember being this fired up for an entire slate of games as we have in week 1 going into this weekend.
Yeah, Huss, I mean, has there ever been a tougher survivor pool start to the season? Like, that's kind of what I've been thinking about. I just got signed up for a big survivor pool, and I have a hard time. Obviously, we talked about the Saints last week. Maybe the Cardinals are an easy pick this week if we're fading the Saints like we are all season. But, do you really want to be the guy who takes the biggest spread on the board as your survivor pick for the week? I don't know. Like, it's a nerve-wracking one. The Giants, we talked about them last week, Huss. They're going up against Commanders in a 5.5 point spread.
Giants are live this week.
I think the Giants are live too. I don't want to fade the Giants this week. So, yeah, a lot of uncertainty, but it's great for viewership. It's great for betting purposes, and to have a week this tight, listen, people, there's going to be blowouts. But, you look at the slate, 425, we got Lions, Packers, Micah Parsons, new member of the Packers. Like you mentioned, Haas, Ravens, Bills. I'm pretty excited for that Monday nighter. Vikings at Bears. Can Ben Johnson really turn it around for the Bears? And we're going to see, what they look like against the rookie quarterback. I know he's not technically a rookie. We talked about that last week as well, and J.J. McCarthy. But, yeah, a lot of fun stuff to look forward to this week, Huss. And, we don't usually get this either, a little Thursday night, Friday night action with your Chiefs going up against the Chargers. Where's that one, Huss? Is that Brazil?
That's in Brazil. So they'll be, and I think both teams are just sort of flying in, playing the game, and getting the hell out of there. A little bit of a different security challenge for the NFL teams when they're going down to Brazil as opposed to just flying domestically. But yeah, that's the Friday game. Of course, it's Cowboys-Eagles. That is the biggest spread on the board the entire week. Philly.
I can't believe it's up to 8.5 now, Huss. It was 8 when I looked at it this morning. I think it opened at like 6.5.
Yeah. Well, listen, the Micah Parsons trade, I think probably moved that line a little bit. But I think we all expected the Eagles to win. I guess you'll have a bunch of people getting those in. I would predict, though, for people that don't make their pick early, that Denver is going to have 90% of entries in survivor pools. Like, if Cam Ward can somehow find a way to win his NFL debut on the road as a 7.5-point dog against the Broncos, it might be the biggest bloodbath in survivor pool history, because you kind of laid it out. There's not a lot of other obvious choices, and I think everyone is going to be on Denver in that first game against Tennessee.
Yeah, you talk about that rookie QB. I was trying to find the stat, Huss, but I know number one overall picks have struggled in their rookie debuts, so it makes a lot of sense why people might be jumping on the Broncos there. Sean Payton, Bo Nix, guys that have had a year. Guy has a year of experience under his belt to a Cam Ward, and we're not exactly sure what that Titans offense is going to look like just yet. So that one might make sense, but I'm always scared to take those big numbers again, Huss, for whatever reason. Like, this might be the week if you want to take a shot. I know it's week one, and that might sound crazy, but if you have a good inkling on one of these teams at these 3-point, 4-point spreads, might be a good spot to take a risk on that and hope that maybe Cam Ward can get it done against Bo Nix and Sean Payton there in Denver. So
I'm excited. I'm excited about Cam Ward. This is about as tough a place as you could go, playing the expected number one defense in the league on the road in your rookie debut. I'm actually pretty high on Tennessee. I think they'll be way more competitive this year, and I think Ward's going to have a good season. Just not really expecting it coming up on this weekend. Listen, while we're talking NFL, and again, Friday we'll make our picks for the first NFL Sunday against the spread at 10 a.m. here on the channel. But then listen, for folks that haven't played a Coolbet and you've been thinking about it, you've been waiting, this is the perfect time to go in, use the promo code WST, 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200. Now, most Coolbetters that are with us on the program used that a long time ago, Jake. But it is the start of the season this week, and I couldn't help but notice a little reload bonus for the people that's been thrown out this week.
Yeah, we've been doing this for, I think, a couple years now, but this is kind of the time where everyone starts to come back to the sports book. I get it. You take the summer off. You're not a big baseball fan, or, you don't want to bet on golf or tennis. Totally understand that. Football season rolls around. College, we're through week one in college. We're heading into week one of the NFL. We feel like this is the perfect time for, those loyal Coolbetters. If you're a new Coolbetter, you get a $100% deposit bonus up to $200 with that code WST. But if you're an existing Coolbetter, you've already used your WST bonus code, or you've used a Coolbet bonus code, you can use the code RELOAD25 when making a deposit this week, and you'll get 100% up to $50. So you deposit 50, you get 50, you got $100 to play with. If you're coming back to the sports book, if you want a little extra juice in the account. And then as the season goes on, we'll have an NFL hub or American Football Hub, actually. College will be included as well. And that'll have a few different offers. But what you'll probably want to do is this week, get on the reload, have that bonus attached to your account. Once you clear that bonus, the hub will be available to you. Pick from one of the 3 offers, and then we're ready to roll. So yeah, it's exciting time, and there'll be more promos to come, Huss. I mean, this is only the beginning when it comes to NFL, and we got NHL, NBA. I don't know if you saw some of those NHL commercials that have started to roll out on the Sportsnet channels. I noticed yesterday watching the Blue Jays. So pretty exciting stuff across the board.
Hey, we just got a video and freaked out about Jonathan Taves wheeling around in his jet skier at the Iceplex today, getting ready for training camp to get going here. So yeah, listen, we'll have tons of NFL talk as we get into the weekend. Hopefully, we're going to try and dive in. I know many of you are Viking fans. We'll see if we can get Matt Collar on. He's always so much fun to have on the program. Does such a great job covering the Vikes. And then Friday at 10 a.m., Week 1 picks here on WST Winners with the boys over at Coolbet. Jake, before we go, on a less happy note, what's the concern level right now with the Jays and the bullpen? We're driving back yesterday, and we had such a great setup. We had the football game on one phone, jimmied up on a thing, and then I had the Jays game on our phone. We're like, oh, they're down 2-1, too bad. Had this huge 9th inning. Bo, Vlad, I mean, all fired up. And then the bullpen imploded again. And this time it wasn't Hoffman. Yes, there it was. It was such a great setup. Shout out Carter Chen for the setup.
I did see that video, Huss, that you guys watching the football game there. It was pretty funny.
Well, it's a good thing we didn't have the video running as we watched the end of the Blue Jays game, because there would have been far more expletives thrown around. It would have been there. At least we didn't know what happened. We knew exactly what was happening when Little came in. Is this just a blip right now, or is this going to be the Achilles heel of a very talented team that is still in first place by 2.5 games?
Yeah, I mean, listen, as a Jays fan, you're hoping it's just a blip, but these bullpen woes have been going on for a little while here. It's like, who are you left to trust? The problem was yesterday, some guys were down. So there was no Hoffman available. That's why you didn't see him come out in the 9th. I think Dominguez was down. So, you got 2 good innings out of Yariel Rodriguez, and then Bo has the bomb to take the lead. Varsho adds a run. So you're sitting pretty 4-2 going to the bottom of the 9th. You need 3 outs. Tommy Nance comes in. And listen, Tommy Nance has had a really strong season out of the bullpen since he's only come up in the last couple months or so. And he didn't really have his stuff. They were just finding holes that, it's just unfortunate situation. But he had a couple guys on. He had a man out. And I don't know what the rush to Brandon Little is. Brandon Little has been one of the biggest problems in the bullpen since the All-Star break. I think his ERA is well over 6 since the All-Star break. So, they go to Little. I know Schneider's big on the lefty-lefty matchups, and sure enough, the big rip down the right field line, and the ball gets lodged. I don't know if you saw that part, Huss, where the guy had to go back to third, and the Jays still had the lead at that point. Move the infield in. Well, then the infield comes in, and the guy just shoots one right by the left side of the infield there, and that was all said and done. But, yeah, I mean, to get into a lead in the 9th, on a Hunter Green start, a guy who's throwing 100, 101 pretty much all game long, it's frustrating. And like you mentioned, the Red Sox, the Yankees, both 2.5 games back now, and there's way too many baseball games left to think they're in a comfortable position right now. I think there's still 24 games left. They got series against the Yankees, series against the Red Sox. So a bit of concern right now. Hopefully you get it back on track today, find a way to win this series against the Reds, and head into New York for a big series against the Yankees this weekend.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what, I cannot wait to keep watching the Jays as we get through these next 2 days. But what a football weekend we've got setting up. I mean, Saturday, Banjo Bowl, tons of college football. But Thursday, Friday, and this Sunday lineup is just, it is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I will look forward to hooking up with you and Pat on Friday morning. Got to get off to a good start. Week 1, off in a graveyard. We're already sweating these picks, and we haven't even made them yet.
Absolutely, Huss. Yeah, I'm excited for Week 1. Excited to chat on Friday once again. I mean, we'll already be a game into the season at that point. We'll be talking about that Friday nighter with your Chiefs and then a big Sunday slate. I can't wait.
Let's do it, pal. Take it easy, and we'll talk to you Friday.
Yep. Have a good one, Haas.
There's JBM at Jake Bolin Moss on X, and of course at Coolbet Canada. I retweeted it out, but if you want more on that, the reload bonus, it's reload 25, and it is up right now over at coolbet.com. Of course, that was basically our Coolbet lines. I will just quickly tell you, tonight for the Blue Jays, they are a favorite. They are minus 130. It's Berrios on the hill for the Toronto Blue Jays, minus 130 favorites against the Reds. Reds are plus 110. Early start of that game tonight, by the way, if you do want to get anything in, 5:40 first pitch from the great American ballpark. All right, let's get Remo back in here. And Remo, we are in quite a, if this was a horse race, I had you by about 10 lengths earlier on, and you have been storming up the stretch. And as we get ready for live racing tonight at Assiniboia Downs, I'm now a nose ahead of you, and this is going to go right down to the wire.
Yeah, you and I neck and neck. I think I was like $20, $40 behind you. You were up like 300 on me with that big win out of the gate, but I had one big win a couple weeks ago. I think I had $100 night or something like that. 101 I was up. I had some big nights last week where I didn't lose, and you haven't been winning as big. So I've been stringing together a bunch of singles. I have had a double. Have had one home run. So we're neck and neck here at the duel at the Downs. And yes, you mentioned Gold Eyes. Great having them. Nice summer activity here in the city. But the Downs continuing into October. So live racing still going here. Great, still trying to have a great night out at the track.
Gotta love it. How are your picks looking right now?
I got them locked in.
For today. Okay, I gotta add one more in. Why don't you go through yours first while I complete these?
Let me pull mine up. And we didn't even mention, I'll let you give your second. Jonathan Taves spotted at Hockey for All Center. We're in the Heritage Jets unis. Interesting.
Gotta break them in.
Uniform choice, breaking it in. Here we can zoom in on the picture. New faces and new threads. Taves and Tanner Pearson, but there he is. Jonathan Taves in the Heritage jersey practicing. Hockey is here. There he is. He's got the jersey, Canada Life sponsor, Fanatics sponsor, Bauer. Beautiful pants. This is a high-quality photo from the award-winning. The Jets social media team, as they didn't win an award for taking crappy photos. I can tell you that. And if the picture's not enough, how about drills? Jonathan Taves doing the circles here at Hockey for All Center. There he is. He's shooting on an empty net, just gingerly skating. So hockey just around the corner. And we will have more Jets discussion as Murat Atesh, he's back in town, and he'll be joining tomorrow. When is it time to panic on Kyle Connor? Ken says March. I think start of the season would, for me.
Listen, if it's not done right on the first day of the season, but they're working towards it, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But if we get to the start of the season and Kyle Connor says, we're just going to see how it goes, wouldn't mind to see what my options are, well, then that changes things significantly. I'm not saying that is the case. Certainly the Pagnotta report that they're going to be sitting down at some point this week is great news. But that's business that the Winnipeg Jets have to get clarity on and either get it done or acknowledge where they're at and then look at some of their other options. All right, run through your picks if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Let me do the picks here as I have them all set up on this computer, hpibet.com. Race 2. I am rolling with 1-2 Exacta Box. I think you won on this a couple weeks ago. Bringer of Rain and Lab Rat. You did win on that one.
Rat.
I'm going back-to-back on those. 1, 2 in any order. 4, I've got my trifecta of the night. 1, 2, 5, Destined to Dance, Unknown Caller, and Miss Charge It. And I got race 6, a 1-7 exacta box, Calming Force, and Do Not. That is a big 10-horse race, race 6. And race 7, a 2-9 exacta box, Slews Back, and Colonel Clink. I don't know who Colonel Clink is. I just remember he appeared in Homer Simpson's dream in an episode of The Simpsons. So I had to go with Colonel Clink, who is the program selection in NAI Smart Pick.
Yeah, I see Colonel Clink down there, right? Oh, right behind your old pal, really slow.
Yeah.
And ride him. It's tough. Like those horses are long shots now. But what great runs that they had. Yeah, that last race is interesting. I kind of always like that number 3, Magnolia Speed, but they're although they are coming down a couple of classes, I guess, with this one. Olympic Legend also has had some success at that one before, but here are mine. I am starting off early. I don't often go to race 1, but we're going to try and get some winners early tonight. Race number 1, going $5 to win on number 1, War is Hell. And then I'm going to do the same thing on Lab Rat in number 2, just straight up win bets. I've got a triactor wheel for race number 4, 267, Unknown Caller, Under Budget, and Highlander Honey. And then I've got $4 remaining. And I think I will go with 222. I'm going to go Calming Force. And I guess I could go Do Not. That's the next one up. What about Judge Oliver here? Wow, Judge Oliver has never raced before, but they do like its chances right out of the gate.
Which race?
This is race 6.
Oh.
Number 2, I don't think has ever raced before. But they're bringing it in at a $20,000 purse. That is somewhat interesting. So, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it. 1-2 exacta box. That'll be my that'll be the final bet. Number 1, Calming Force, the favorite, and number 2, Judge Oliver. 7 o'clock or 7:30 tonight is post time. Free parking, free admission, and as always, you can bet at hpibet.com and watch it all happen live on the Assiniboia Downs YouTube channel. Good stuff today, Reem. Got one more draft tonight, and then we're all systems go for Thursday and NFL kickoff. Tomorrow, though, will be interesting because the Bombers are going to be back at practice. Very interested to not only hear what we see, where Ontario Smith fits in,
Wilson,
some of the guys like Kyron Moore that they just signed last week, if there will be changes to the lineup. And now that, they've had a couple days to think about it, what the mindset of the team is coming off that tough loss going into a massive game next week at home.
Yeah, I catch myself saying Ontario Smith all the time, former running back of the Vikings. No, you said Ontario Smith. It's Ontario Wilson on the Bombers. I just said I do catch myself saying Ontario Smith with the Wizinator.
That was the Wizinator.
With the Wizinator on the Vikings, but it is Ontario Wilson.
Former signed Bomber as well.
He did. Yeah, I don't think he ever played. He came in very overweight with the Bombers. But yes. So, yeah, looking forward to that. And some people were speculating about Dalton Schoen's health if he got hurt and got hurt at the end of that game. One topic that we really didn't touch on today is NHL CBA. Seems like some things that are supposed to come into next year's CBA are coming in for this year. We will have a salary cap in the playoffs. And the way you accrue cap space will be a bit different this season. So for all those teams, that took advantage of LTIR, like the Blackhawks, like Vegas, like Tampa, like Florida, teams that won the Stanley Cup by taking advantage of the rules, Well, they won't be able to do that anymore because your full cap hit, you'll need 20 players, will count against the salary cap game 1 of the playoffs. Well, in every game going forward. And I don't know what took them so long. Like, they finally decided to put in this rule, and they not only is it in the next CBA, they can't wait until this one expires. So, like, what took them so long to finally be like, yeah, we need this? I don't understand. Like, everyone was pointing this out for years. It was just so blatant.
At the start, the teams were like, no, it's no big deal. And then it got abused, I think, in a lot of people's minds. So many teams did it that then everyone's like, okay, hold on a second. This is out of control. And it
was out of control. But, like, it was out of control from day one. It was obvious that with the Patrick Kane, that was the first one, really worked out in their favor, the timing of the injuries. But you saw teams, maybe, I don't know, delaying surgeries or, adding guys at the deadline. You're like, oh, we can play him in the playoffs, if he's over the cap. So it's crazy how the pendulum switch. I do see waiters in chat writing, the cap in the playoffs isn't an issue. Bettman told us. I should find a clip of that, actually. That is kind of funny.
Well, it's no longer an issue because they've got it done.
They couldn't wait to implement that rule. Like, they couldn't wait for the CBA to expire. Sorry. It's crazy to me to deny publicly that was an issue for so long, not do anything to change it, and then when have they ever done that? Put in a rule for the next CBA before the current one has expired. I can't remember that happening.
No, it's true. We will have AHL loans for 19-year-old players, which has been an issue for the CHL drafted players. No big deal for the Jets with Sacha Boumedienne, who, of course, was drafted out of the NCAA. But just with everything changing, and we'll have to do a more in-depth segment on junior hockey as we get closer to the start of their season, which is like right around now. Just with the changing landscape of it, the amount of players like Gavin McKenna that are moving to the NCAA now that they're eligible, I think that we're going to see the CHL become a younger league. And again, with some 19-year-olds potentially going to play in the American Hockey League now that they are able to. But that is something that we'll definitely pay attention to. You got tennis on tonight. Of course, there is Felix Auger-Aliassime playing tomorrow, and a Blue Jay game at 5:40. And then tick-tock, we get closer to Thursday night in NFL kickoff, and, of course, closer to Saturday's sold-out Banjo Bowl. Folks, that is going to do it for us today. Well, actually, no, you know what? Let's get Connor back in here. Because I just realized we've been so busy with everything. We should get fan feedback right now. This is your chance to air it out on last night or on Sunday's game. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp but Waverly and McGillivray? Where is your greatest frustration from the near miss of tying that football game at the end? Was it play calling earlier on? Was it execution? Was it the inability to stop the bleeding when the Riders completely took over the game and the momentum midway through? Let us know right now in chat, and we'll get to a few of these. In fan feedback, brought to you by Fans First. Of course, Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay. Desperately looking for Banjo Bowl tickets, knowing that they're sold out? Fans First has you covered. Although you might want to wait a little bit. Looks like the get-in price right now, and there are not very many seats available, in at $139 right now. It is definitely the hottest ticket in town right now, the Banjo Bowl. And guys, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a few more Rider fans were deciding to bite the bullet and make the trip out after they got one over us on Sunday.
Yeah, well, the Riders, man, they're hot, and hopefully they can keep it going here into the second one of this. But you look at the history of the Banjo Bowl over the last couple of years. I have it written down in my notes. Where was it? The Bombers have won the last couple of them. The last 5 Banjo Bowls. So I think it's a different Bombers team that we've seen. But if they do play the right way and don't make mistakes, a Bombers certainly capable of winning. And when I thought that game was done, they battled back and they've shown urgency. I think of the way they came back to score, in that game on Sunday. But also I remember the way the offense moved the ball against Ottawa and they almost blew that game. How quickly Zach moved the ball down the field. We've seen it from the Bombers. Just need them to put it together for a full 60. And the crowd is going to be rocking. So I'm curious what the line is going to be. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, for the Banjo Bowl?
Yeah, is Bombers like...
Pick them.
Okay, that's fair.
Pick them, yeah, that's pretty much what I expected it to be. I'm just looking for some fan feedback here. Tyson Ducharme giving up the momentum on 3rd and 2 and kicking the field goal. MC Stormy, listen, Jason Hogan's getting a lot of heat. I blame Hogan. Mike Wynn, 100% play calling. Phyllis, play calling was the biggest issue I saw in the game. Leslie Mishnak, decisions on when to go for it on 3rd down and play calls are the most frustrating right now. Play calling and QB deployment from Keith Lillis. And T. Will just says, yes. So, hey, it was a hell of a game, a hell of a weekend. Just didn't end up on the right side of the ledger for everyone that made the trip. But once again, to all you Bomber fans, give yourself the Barry Horowitz pat on the back for just an amazing turnout and showing in Regina. Hopefully we can get them on Saturday and get back into this in the West right now. But hell of a weekend for the league. Too bad the 3rd game didn't match up to the first 2, but the bar was pretty darn high. And, of course, we'll have the latest from Blue Bomber practice tomorrow as the team is back on the field getting ready for the rematch against the Riders on Friday. All right, gang, that is going to do it for us. Thanks again to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. We'll be back tomorrow with the return of Murat Atesh. Looking forward to seeing how Murat's summer was and talk about some of the big stories around the Winnipeg Jets as we get closer to training camp, the latest on the Bombers, and more on the upcoming NFL season, which kicks off on Thursday. For Connor Hrabchak, Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow right here on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.